Okay, first let me thank again the Conference Planning Committee and of course the leadership of BNI Nigeria for putting together this conference, and also for giving me this opportunity to share something around building business growth culture. Building business growth culture. You know, while the last session was going on, the panel session, a lot of things, connected very deeply with me and made a lot of sense. How can we thrive as entrepreneurs? How can we thrive as business owners in today's Nigeria? A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to make a presentation where I described Nigeria as being equal to VUCA. For those of us who do not know, VUCA means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And this is a strategy developed by former American military generals after the Cold War. And they sat and thought and said, look, in the world we live today, anything can just happen. A war can break out tomorrow. It could be a physical war, it could be, intellectual war, but something could happen. So in order not to be taken unawares, let us live in this world as though everything is volatile, as though there's a lot of uncertainties, as though things are so complex, and as though things were very ambiguous. And they come up with that strategy. And then when you look at where Nigeria is today with the realities before us, whether it is our currency is very volatile, security is a big issue today, unemployment is huge, underemployment is also there. So there are a lot of challenges. And so what I looked at today is, what is the culture? What is a culture? I'm sure some of you have heard the BNI founder, Dr. Ivan Meissner, mention this each time he talks about traditions and innovation. He says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. The original author of that quote is Peter Drucker. And some persons has gone ahead to expand that to say, culture does not just eat strategy for breakfast, it also eats it for lunch and dinner. What does that mean to you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur? What does it mean when we say culture eats strategy for breakfast? Now, it doesn't matter how well you plan. It doesn't matter if you hire the best of talents. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your resources. If you do not have people with the right mindsets, attitude to drive the business, that strategy comes to nothing. Now, that is not to say strategy is not important. Strategy is. But we're saying that strategy is nothing without the right culture. And therefore, for us to build the right culture, the question we need to ask is, are we managing as leaders or we are managing as managers? Do we know the difference? There's a big difference between when you manage as a leader and when you manage as a manager. I used to tell you a long time ago that if I had worked in a bank, I would have been fired. Because what I know about banking in Nigeria is you're stereotyped. There are policies and rules, and you must play within them. If you take one step outside, you could be fired. And that's why Abraham Lincoln said that managers do things right, but leaders do the right thing. Managers do things right, but leaders do the right thing. So managers doing things right is managers can get you to obey the policies, stay within the rules and regulations, and ensure that from beginning to the end, you are in line with what has been laid down. And you cannot think or act outside the rules. That's what managers do. So managers control, right? Managers monitor, and then managers ensure compliance. That's what managers do. But leaders are not interested in controlling you. Leaders actually lay the foundation and then allow you to make certain mistakes, learn from them, and then be able to teach others. But people will tell you that there are some organizations where you are not allowed to even make a mistake. But that's not true. We all make mistakes. The CEOs of the biggest banks in the world today, when you hear their stories, they failed several times and they rose up, they made mistakes. And therefore, leaders will encourage you to let, they don't micromanage you in leadership. But in management, you are micromanaged. That's the big difference. So today, I want to talk about how we can actually build that culture of growth in our business. That's what I'm here to talk about. And before I do that, I want to share one personal experience of mine. In April 2017, I started a business, Tega Multi-Concept Limited, and we ran that business for 11 months without making a single profit. 11 months. And the GM that I worked with today started just the next month. So we started in April, and in May he joined me. So when he spent 10 months, he was receiving salary, but we're not making money. He came to my office one day and said, "Sir, don't you think you should either shut this down or do something else? How can you be paying us and we are not generating money?" I just said to him, I said, "Do you trust me?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Stay the course." And then we continued. And then on the 12th month, the break came and things started working very well. When I hired him, to be honest, he didn't have all the talents. He didn't have all the skills I was looking for. But this is somebody who was willing to learn, who understood the culture and can represent me anywhere, and allowed him to make mistakes. A lot of them. I have never queried him for one day, even though I have had several reasons to. Now, why have I not queried him? Because the mistakes he made were not fundamental mistakes that could either put our integrity or our name in jeopardy. Those ones are too risky. But mistakes of making, mistakes when it comes to calculation, finances, and then we can lose some money and all of that. And I realized those were genuine mistakes. But today, I can travel 3 weeks out of the country without a single call. He's running the business comfortably. He understands the culture of the business. I gave him the room to learn and to make mistakes. We are also open in the business. In fact, to be honest, he knows when 1 kobo gets into the account. He knows what goes out. That is how transparent we are. That's how we are open with communication. So that's one individual. Then 3 months ago, we hired someone to manage business development for us. Great talent, great experience in the area. 3 weeks after his employment, we saw that this individual had no growth culture whatsoever from where he was coming from. We continue to monitor him, right? And in his first 2 months, he got the first query. Now, let me tell you the difference. This individual understands the clients we deal with and the businesses. We have to source for the funds. He knows everything about that. But this gentleman went to a company after supplying the product. A manager at the company gave him some money and said, "Look, I live far away. Can you help me buy, there's an electric warmer." This gentleman took the 35,000 and then disappeared for 1 week. So when my GM went to the company next time for inquiries, the man said, "I'm not going to release any PO to you until you get your staff to return my money." So for me, that is a very dangerous mistake to make, because already the integrity of the company is being put in a bad light. But that's not all. He went to secure some products, a product of about 500,000. Then he said one part of the product was missing, that he couldn't find it. It was 108,000 naira worth of products. But just 3 days ago, we discovered that this gentleman is addicted to sport betting and sport bet Niger. So every money that gets into his hands, straight he goes there to go and bet. And then when you do that, you continue to expect that the 20 million, 50 million will come, right? Each time you get to the 11th hour and then something happens, we'll realize that the guy could actually destroy the integrity of the company. I will have made a firm decision just as this last Tuesday to let him go. So you can see the difference. And so as entrepreneurs or business owners, what are you expected to do to ensure that that growth culture is instilled in your members? I'm just going to give you some tips, very quick tips, because I've been told I have only 30 minutes and I think I already spent over 10 minutes. So the first thing I want you to look at is what we call empowering leadership. I want to repeat that, empowering leadership. What does that mean? You must be able to ensure that the vision of the company, the objectives of the company are captured in such a way that your team members can key into it comfortably and then understand it and be able to represent the company even in your absence. One way to do that is to let them try out some leadership things in your absence, things that are less delicate, that are less complicated, and they will learn from that. And when they learn from that, they begin to believe in the process, they begin to trust the process, and they feel that, look, I can sit down and make decisions on behalf of the company, and therefore I am an integral part of this company. That's one way. The other way is what I call open communication. I did say to you that my GM today in the office actually knows how much gets into the company and what comes out. He understands everything. We are open in our communication. And one company that has demonstrated this globally is Netflix, that we all are proud and making a lot of references today. Netflix realized that micromanaging people and gauging people was not the best. And then they decided to come up with a concept where they ask you that it's not just about, doing, that it is okay for you to learn and make mistakes. So they usually will have every month an opportunity for the staff members to sit down and say what the worst things they think about the company, without any fear of retaliation, without any fear of being punished. People were a bit withdrawn and afraid to do it, but when they tried it for the first 6 months, and others realized that people were actually opening up and saying the truth and nothing happened to them, they started opening up. And today, in fact, it is known in Netflix, they can research it. It's okay for you to open up and write to your boss and say, these are the things not going on, I don't think it's going to work. And they will listen to you. So that open communication is very important. Number 3 thing I want to talk about is what we call goal alignment. You have like a 5-year strategic plan. And for every year, you have a budget and plans, a year budget that leads you to that 5-year plan. How are you aligning the objectives and the aspiration of your team members into that? Do they understand what is going on? Do they understand what that holds for them in the future? These are key questions that are very important. So you must encourage them to align with their goals. One other one, number 4, and which is very important that even BNI encourages, is continuous learning. So when we talk about lifelong learning within BNI, that is one example. In 2018, I sent one of our engineers to Taiwan for training. When I was preparing to get his visa, someone came to me and said, look, this is a risk you're taking. How can you invest so much money to send this guy out for 4 weeks and get him trained? Do you have a contract to keep him? I said, no. He said, it's a big risk. I said, it's fine, it's okay. This gentleman went to Taiwan, got trained, because we are bringing in some very modern machines that we didn't have a lot of hands in Nigeria that could handle it. He went to Taiwan, he got trained. After 4 weeks, he came back. Then 7 months later, he got admission to go to Sultan for master's degrees. And he applied and said he was resigning. And I said, it's okay. And I wished him well and I prayed for him and he left. We are still in touch today. He's still doing things for us virtually. But those who said I was making a mistake came back and said, we told you. I said, don't worry about that. And then I prepared another guy 2 years later and sent him to Taiwan. That one came back. He worked for us for about 3 years. About 2 months ago, he went to Canada. Now the question is, were we thinking like stupid people to invest in those individuals to do that? No, but I ensured that they were also transferring knowledge. I ensured they were transferring knowledge. And so today, in their absence, we have engineers who are direct staff members and those who are on contract who can go anywhere and repair our machines. So that investment paid off. Maybe not in the way a man had expected it, but it's paying off. Now, it is important for you to understand that when you invest into training and preparing your people, never consider it a waste. And that's why when Shane was talking earlier, he said every Monday they do training in their office and they allow people to practice, learn how to train others. Once you do that, you are imbibing that spirit of continual learning. It is difficult for them not to stick and respect that company. That is one business growth mentality that we must all adopt. The 5th one is recognition and awards. And when we talk about, growth mentality with the company and business, it's not just about the profit making. The BNI, as we are in your chapters, in your power team groups, you must be able to ensure that this happens. You must recognize people. Look at what the national leadership is doing. For all those making presentations, they are being appreciated and said thank you to. What they get might not be so much of a great value, but it's from the heart. We call it giving the diamond. It's pretty important for you to encourage, appreciate people and celebrate them when they make breakthroughs in your businesses. If your chapter does very well, you should go and celebrate yourself. I read about a few months ago about a chapter in the US that made $17 million in about a month. And that's huge. Celebrate such people. So in your own chapters, in your organization, when people go out of their way to bring businesses in or do something that you consider very successful, it is a fact to recognize them and appreciate them. That is very, very important. Now, let me try to twist this a little. There is what is called entrepreneurial mindset. Within an entrepreneurial mindset, you have what we call the growth mindset. So the growth mindset are people whose mindset says resilience, is important, courage is important, commitment is important, consistency is important. And for every entrepreneur without that growth mindset, you cannot make progress. So when you hear that businesses start and after 3 years they go under, go and check. Those are not true entrepreneurs. Those are people who really came out because they want to make money. So there is a big difference between owning a business and running a business like an entrepreneur. Difference is in the mindset that you get into, because entrepreneurs actually do not focus first on what they get in terms of profit. They focus on providing solutions to challenges, knowing that definitely there will be derived profits from those. And that's why the world is changing. Check all the big entrepreneurs. When they talk about Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, talk about all the big names you know. They will tell you one problem they're able to solve. None of them make a dime without solving the problem. But there are people who just ask what I am going to get. So the challenge to us today is to build that growth mindset in our business, in BNI, for us to understand our role, that everyone who is in BNI should think like an entrepreneur. I told you that, say, if I'm going to employ people in the future, I will employ people who have the entrepreneurial mindset. And one way to do this is to ask them what have been the biggest tasks, challenges they faced, and how they dealt with them. You'll be able to draw a line. Somebody will tell you they tried when they failed and they have to get some people to support them. Some will tell you they tried and they gave up. Some will even give you examples of what they determine and think is success, but when you put it on a scale, it is actually not success. So entrepreneurs are known to be resilient, to be consistent, and if you go in that line, you are going to build that culture that encourages growth. On the final analysis, I like to again go with this quote. I think I used that also yesterday. Is my time up? Okay, I'll close. JFK, John F. Kennedy, says, the problems of humanity cannot be solved by skeptics and cynics. Entrepreneurs are not skeptics, they are not cynics. If you have had any doubt in your mind that made you stop from getting to a venture, you are a skeptic and you're a cynic. Look, entrepreneurs actually are risk takers. The only thing is take calculated risk. But there's no guarantee it's going to work. And the biggest entrepreneurs in the world failed many times. Some of them have done some businesses and switched into something. But we call it failing forward, is not necessarily failing and staying where you are. So the advice is, if you must make progress, you must understand that all the challenges that we talked about during the panel here that exist in Nigeria are challenges. But within those challenges, there are huge opportunities. So the question is, are you able to identify the opportunities and tap into them? That's what entrepreneurs do. So JFK was saying that even though we know there are problems around us and challenges, there are those who focus only on the problems without thinking about the opportunities as skeptics and cynics. But he says that we need men and women like you and I in BNI who will think of things that never were and ask why not. So when people are complaining, oh, why do we have so much insecurity? Why is our production cost has gone up? We can't even pay salary and all. Yeah, those things are there. But if you pray from now till next year and fast and go to the mountain, nothing will change. The only thing that will change is when you take step. And that step is not meant to be easy. Nobody has ever told you it's going to be easy. And I tell this to entrepreneurs, never go on your knees to pray and say things should be very easy for you. Entrepreneurs don't make such prayers. Never go on your knees and pray that, look, tomorrow everything should be very smooth. It's not going to happen. It will never happen. I guarantee you. Your prayer will be that you have the grace from God and the skill and the tenacity to deal with what you face and make a good out of it. And that's what life is about. So keep asking the why-not question and grow your team, and let's make BNI better and make our businesses better, because we truly can. Thank you.
We'll keep it up. The entire membership of BNI Nigeria, we say thank you to you for your contribution, for your growth, for your commitment. We are not recording. All that you do. We say thank you.